Hello everyone, bonjour tout le monde. Welcome to EFA38 on this Tuesday, May 5th. Today I want to talk about the psychological impact, and I'm going to be blunt. Let's be blunt and talk about the psychological impact that we are now having on our children, okay, just children in general, how we are having on our lifestyles, and how we are having on the country of choice that we're going to choose that we'll want to live in eventually. Right. And I'm going to go into these details because of everything that's happening. And I'm looking at the world, and I'm listening to the world, and I like to be very absorbent of everything, right? My brain works that way. I observe it. People watch all the way through, and then you go granular. And you always, whether it's my upbringing, my surrounding, my foundation, the hood, my investigation background, working in correctional facilities, something, my mind always works that way. And I read people's eyes. I read the windows, the eyes of the soul. A lot of people do that, read the eyes. And I do read the eyes. I facial expressions, the way people say their words, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm very analytical that way. Naturally, my mind just constantly processes things when I look at people and how they speak and how their eyes react to their lips and their words and et cetera. And what I've been noticing is like this device here, this electronic device that we all seem to love and have an addiction for, and we all do. I don't care who you are, we all do, right? Those that have it, they do. And mine is a solid business phone, right? I don't have any games on my phone; it's all business. But there's still that need. There's still that need to pick up, right? And then when I'm looking at children, and I look at isolation, I'm looking at COVID-19 and all the restrictions that we have in place in this world, and our children, that somehow this device is also one giant magnet. Somehow it warps them into a isolated area of the house all the time. Doesn't matter which part of the house, their bedroom, the sunroom, whichever. They always end up being sucked somewhere and end up somewhere on a phone, on a device, whether themselves or with their siblings, but very isolated, very contained areas all the time, chatting with their friends, doing their game, building their cities, building their families, all that stuff they're doing electronically. And what I'm finding is that this COVID-19, and my wife's on them, like even more so than I, right? And I try to find the balance, but she's right because of the addiction factor of these devices. And I try to find a balance because the children who are all interconnected electronically through these smartphone devices, the entire world, is like telling them not to drink water. Everybody else can drink water but you, because that's really what we're telling them. You can't have an electronic device, but you can, but we just want you to have it sometimes. It's like controlling something, right? Like controlling everything to something that everybody wants to access because that's what everybody's doing. So now I'm looking at that isolation, and the psychological impact of that is people watching, eyes, interactions. We are creating a society of people that can't even look at each other in the eyes, can't even do business this way, can't interact. I can see that dinner with my daughter is spending an hour. I got one daughter that can do it and one daughter that can't. She's a busybody. She needs to go, 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 go. It's that stimuli, right? That it needs to go, go, go. And I look at that, and that both of them get really drawn into their phone, into an area where they can get on it with their friends and their peers, and they live in it. It's like living in the matrix, right? They like to go living in the matrix, and that's what they do. They all live in the matrix. And how does that going to do for the world going forward psychologically when you're dealing with deals? The best songs, the best businesses, the best everything on earth ever written, put together, fabricated, etc., came from interaction, came from face to face, came from handshakes, which would follow with paper, but it came from a lot of this stuff. You need it. You need it. And I tell this to ladies, this gut feeling here, call your spider senses, call whatever you want. You have to pay attention to that. And that is developed through social skills. And I've said this in previous EFA, ignorance is not bliss. It is not. And these social skills, these DNA skills, this humanity. Remember, I talked about breathing, about skin, about DNA, blood, all that stuff has an energy, right? All your brain and heart has an energy, and that energy, that transmission of energy, that pulse that you feel every single moment of your life, and that interaction you do with humanity, and that engagement, you learn really, really strong skills with that when you really focus on that in your life, and whether in business, whether in family, whether in relationship, whether in friendships, whether in anything, those skills are very, very important for interaction throughout society, throughout culture, throughout travel, throughout everything. And psychologically, we're taking that away with this COVID-19, with all these restrictions happening with this phone. And then psychologically, what's happening, we're creating a lot of anxiety right now. And I'm going to go to business now because it's going to tie into lifestyle. Because people I'm looking at businesses right now, the service industry businesses. I mean, we're all talking, and people in business are looking at each other, going like, "Do you see all these restrictions that I have to put in place now? This is what I have to have." Where does it say that? But it's a gray, it's a black and white regulation or something, but it's very gray because you got to go to this department, that department to get that paperwork, right? And so people are doing the very best they can. Now, the service industry, they're starting to get their list of stuff that they're going to have in place. They're going to have a place to operate. They won't be able to operate with as many people as they used to operate before. They won't have allowed to have clients in their businesses. Only so many, so clients will have to wait in their vehicles. They're going to have to like notify them to come in. All these kind of things are being worked on in a lot of industries right now, and a lot of service industry. And they're going to have certain measures procedures in place, and also all the equipment in place, right? And I've talked about this before. Who's going to pay for all this? Like, who pays for all that, right? So eventually, at the end of the day, the client does. The client does. When you like hear builders, they want affordable housing. Well, the builders would do affordable housing if they didn't have this much hands in their pocket just for paperwork and administration, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That comes in their pocket. They would be able to build more affordable housing, but they can't because their profits are really low because all these margins. Like we talked about that from the restaurant industry all the way up, the service industry, the profit margin is very, very minimal because everything else that transpires, right? And right now, the service industry that won't be allowed to have as many clients in their businesses and all that kind of stuff psychologically. And now they have to have all these measures and procedures in place and all the PPEs and all these other extra measures and procedures in place and all these extra costs. And then their rent can go down because why would it go down? Because these people that own the buildings also have responsibilities all the way up to the giants of giants out there, the biggest of companies out there, from your oil industries, your airlines, from everything. All these individuals all have responsibilities also. They all also have to answer to banks and people above them, right? Loans and responsibilities. Everybody does. It always goes up. I always remember that. Always goes up. I don't care how much you have, unless you have so much, right? But you still have responsibilities, right? You still have responsibilities, and you might have your lifestyle means, your business means, this means that means, but everything has responsibilities. And psychologically, these individuals, they're going through anxiety right now, looking at their business. How can I make this business run while I still have all these responsibilities? And everybody has the same scenario they're going through, and with all these restrictions put on them and all these measures going forward, which could last a year, 6 months, and then psychologically people don't want to come in as much, etc., etc. So these business people, and what's happening in the conversation psychologically is that they're discussing amongst each other, when the dust settles, where are we going to land? Like, which country? If I'm going to rebuild, remember the worker ants? I talked about this before. The worker ants. If you look at like, there's parts of the world that haven't changed, like literally have not changed in thousands of years, hundreds or whatever, and that's fine, right? And there's parts of the world constantly moving, constantly growing, constantly. There's people that landed in this country, Canada, 150 years ago, and just started working, just started working. And today, look, 150 years later, and the roads and railways and transportation and buildings and infrastructures and parks and services and hospitals and bang, right? That was done by hand, by people, by minds, by worker ants, right? And a lot of these were owned by business people and individuals that can reroute, and individuals that look at themselves and say, why am I working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, 16 hours a day? Why can't I turn it off no more? Because I have so much overhead. And now all this overhead is going to be done under these rules and regulations. So I'm going to work harder for a lot less. And I always remember this couple I met on vacation. It was a very successful business couple out of a province that we live in this country, and they had been managing this multi-million-dollar accounting firm for 25 plus years. And there was another big accounting account they could have had, a multi-million-dollar deal. And they, after months of review and all that stuff, et cetera, they made a decision that they didn't take it. They didn't take the additional contract because they realized that they would have so much more responsibilities with more staff and more this, more that, and everything for no more, other than more stress, less family time, less life, less everything. And that's what psychologically people are talking about right now. Which country am I going to choose to land in? I've traveled this world, and I've met a lot of expats, and I've met a lot of Canadians and Americans and so forth in different countries. And one of the things that always resounded with me is what they said. The reason why they chose those countries, and And I'm talking like your Mexicos, your Panamas, and all these kind of countries I've been around the world where people are at, and a lot of Americans, a lot of Canadians, a lot of people that successful business people and people that retired government people, etc. They always say the same thing. Their dollar went so much farther, so much further. Dollar was worth a dollar. And that resounded with me because when you were in a lot of those countries, a family of four can have a nice dinner for $50. Right. So what does that mean at the end psychologically? Right now, a lot of people are enjoying their time with family. They're enjoying their hour-long conversation at dinner time. They're enjoying a lot of that stuff, and they're looking at, do I really need this rat race? But I still want a good lifestyle for my family. I still want to provide. I'm never going to stop working. I'm never going to stop providing. That's my DNA. Is the workaround, right? The workarounds of people that, like I talked about, that come to this country and they just got to go. They just got to keep marching and marching and marching and working. So then they think to themselves, say, if I'm going to have to restructure it and I'm going to have to rebuild, why am I doing it in a country that everything comes out of my pockets, disappears? Where my dollar is worth 40 cents, where my dollar is worth 30 cents at the end of the day, right? Why don't I do all this if I'm going to do it anyway? If I'm going to restructure it, why don't I restructure and downsize to this in this country and just to have more life? Do the exact same thing, but much, much smaller and have more life, or do the big thing somewhere else, or rebuild somewhere else where my dollar is worth a dollar, or my dollar is worth 80 cents or 72 cents, 75 cents, not 30, 40, 46 cents, 45 cents. And that psychologically is what's happening to our children right now when you look at the interaction with, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's friendship, whether it's community, whether it's everything, all that interaction, that gut feeling that we have, the intuitions, the communications through the eyes, the observations, those are all life skills in all aspects. Psychologically, we are affecting that. Psychologically, we are affecting the lifestyle of individuals that will not want to go into the service industry, or they're gonna come in with their rules and regulations to your business and to your facilities and to your community centers and they're gonna come in and say, I want this and that in place for me to come in today. Right? Psychologically, we're affecting people's lifestyles, how they want to choose to interact with people, how they're going to want to choose to interact with businesses, how they're going to interact with each other within life. And then psychologically, which country are we going to choose to settle in? When all this settles, there's going to be a lot of people moving. There's going to be a lot of people restructuring. There's going to be a lot of people rethinking. There's going to be a lot of people downsizing. There's going to be a lot of people saying, I'm going to enjoy life too. I'm going to enjoy life also my way. Jean-Guy Bourguignon, EFA38, wishing each and every one of you a productive, healthy life. Thank you.